Today we're going to build some arrows, some fast arrows with Ethics Archery's inserts and outserts. Alright, what I'll do first is take these out. These are Victory Rip Extreme Velocities. I would shoot them in 250s, but they don't have 250s, so I shoot them in 300s. They fly really good, so I'm happy with them. When I cut arrows, I immediately cut 1 inch off the back. I don't use a spinner to see what ends are wobbly or perfect or whatnot. Specifically with these Victory shafts, they got ice coating on them. It makes them pull easier. But the back end of it is raw carbon because that's where you're supposed to fletch. If you cut a big chunk off this back end that's raw, these fletchings aren't going to stick good. I guess if you're using wraps, it's not as big of a deal, but regardless, I'm taking 1 inch off the back on every single arrow, and then I'm making my measurement and cutting. When I start cutting this arrow, instead of, if you just put your arrow in there with one hand or you're holding it back here, this arrow has flex in it. That's why a lot of people have to be specific on squaring their arrows with a arrow square or whatever. When I'm cutting, I'm holding as close to this saw as I can because I don't want any flex when I'm pushing on this saw. But I'm putting it super light on this blade and I'm just rotating it. I'm not pushing it at all. So now I got 1 inch cut off each one of them. Now I'm going to measure my arrow length. Okay, arrows are squared on both ends. Now let's go back in. Arizona Easy Fletch is my go-to. We've had like 4 or 5 of them and they're somewhere lost in this shop. They're cheap, they're like 30 or what, 30, 40 bucks. Put a super strong helical on them. I don't like 4 fletch, I like 3 fletched. I like to keep that extra fletch off the back. But the helical they put on it, it steers the fixed broadheads ridiculously good. I specifically like tack vanes. I tested these Silent Nights out. They're made of the same material, I believe, just a lot thinner and not nearly as strong. Super, super quiet, but they're no quieter than tack vanes. The drivers, the 2.75s, that's what I run. They are kind of tricky when you're fletching. You do have to use a primer pin. I do a little extra. I take a scratch pad and I scuff up my carbon. This will make it like concrete to those fletchings. Then acetone. After I've scuffed the carbon up, take acetone, clean it really good. Put my fletchings in here, self-explanatory. Primer pin, dab a little bit out, make sure it's coming through good. This glue's bottle has had its better days. I ain't gonna say any names, but his initials is Zach Benfield that left it open and turned it over. I put a few drops on, spread it out. You don't want to put so much on it. I just want to make sure that there's glue from here to here. There it goes in, locks in with the knock. Push up. I do it really slow, don't let it slap, because if you do, sometimes the fletchings will kind of get cockeyed. Cap goes over, cinches down, boom. I let it set for probably 30 seconds to a minute, and we're good to go. Pop the cap off. I take it out, dab just a little dot on the ends of each fletching. This will help you hold your fletchings on over time. I like a Bitzenberger as well if I'm doing 4 fletching. This thing for the money, like I said, I think they're 30 bucks, $35. If you've got 2 or 3, you can fletch a dozen arrows very, very quickly, way faster than a Bitzenberger. But like I said, I just run 3 fletchings. You can do all the testing you want. You can watch all the reviews you want. This is by far your best setup. We're running Ethics Archery inserts. I wouldn't run anything else at all. I'm an idiot when it comes to explaining this stuff. I know why I'm running it. I know what it does and why it does it. I just don't know how to explain it as good as he does. I'm gonna let a professor fill you in.
All right, so like Dustin was saying, we're running Ethics Archery inserts. I've used a lot of stuff over the years, and this has been, I think, all of our favorites that we've used. They're available in a few different combos. You've got a steel on steel, which is a steel insert that actually goes inside the shaft of an arrow, with a steel outsert. It's by far the strongest. Usually if I'm building an elk arrow and I'm looking to penetrate a ton of bone and I want the strongest arrow possible, that's what I'll go with. But there's a big trade-off just because you end up with a ton of weight. One thing we found, especially with deer hunting and just general archery shooting, the aluminum insert with a steel outsert has been a good hybrid for us. It kind of gets the best of both worlds, not nearly as heavy, but still has a ton of strength to it. One of the biggest things with this system is you've got an insert that is a solid piece of metal that takes up the entire inner diameter of that shaft. So if you'll actually look, this thing goes that far up inside the shaft and gives you a ton of strength. That in itself would make a very strong arrow. They go the next step and actually have a collar that goes on the outside. In this case, it's stainless steel that goes over it, that gives it a bunch of strength. If you've ever seen an arrow fail, I think we've all missed a target before, shot it into a tree, hit a rock, hit bone, and had that arrow mushroom out, break. And if it fails up here, you've got nothing left to push that arrow forward with, and you're not doing any good. With this system, this outsert keeps that arrow from being able to mushroom out, and usually if this setup fails, it usually travels down the shaft and you'll have it break back at the nock. At that point, I've already got that much arrow into an animal, and you're going to have a whole lot better chance of recovering that animal with all that shaft going through it already and pushing that arrow on through. So that's why we really like that system. I think we're going to do a video coming up, or go in depth when I'm testing gear. We'll probably shoot these things in a bunch of different mediums, see how they perform. But from all the research we've done and all the shooting we've done, we're very, very happy with this setup from Ethics.
All right, I'm back. I like to use this insert weld. This is the best stuff I've ever found. We're putting just a few drops along this slick part. But the main thing is these grooves. You can cut, if you're getting very specific into your FOC and what you're putting on the end of your arrow, you can cut. That's what these grooves are made for, is to cut. But also, what I use them for is to put the actual glue in. And with this black weld, you don't have to put much. When you put this in there, you better get it in the shaft as soon as once you start it, because if you don't, it's going to get stuck like halfway. This is not coming back out. If you're trying to play around with different FOCs or different weights in the arrow or whatnot, don't use this, because once this goes in, it's never coming out again. boom. And you need to be fast with it. I know that looks like it's dramatified just a little bit, but it will not. It'll set up quick and it's not coming out. Fill tip goes in, or broadhead, whatever the case may be. And that, my friends, in my opinion, is your perfect arrow. As far as elk goes, we might change a little overall weight, but as far as overall arrow, this is perfect for me. I will put Luminox in every single one of my arrows. I want the same exact weight on the back end every single time. Tack vanes, 2.75 drivers, Ethics Archery insert and outsert, stainless steel outsert, aluminum insert. I truly believe, for me anyway, this is my perfect arrow.